How brilliant is Peyton Manning running this offense, and how accurate is he dropping these passes? Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown.
The Colts are world champions.
For over half a century, one name has ruled the world of NFL: Manning. From Archie to the legendary careers of Peyton and Eli, the Manning family has shaped the NFL like no other. But now, a new chapter is being written. A young quarterback is carrying the weight of history on his shoulders. And the question is, can he live up to the family name? This is the story of how the Mannings built a football empire. The Manning family's journey to NFL greatness began in a small town called Drew, Mississippi in 1949 when Archie Manning was born. From the very start, Archie was a natural athlete. As a kid, Archie was always on the move, whether he was playing sports, studying hard, or joining church activities. And his hard work really paid off. By the time he finished high school in 1967, he was the class valedictorian, earned a football scholarship to Ole Miss, and was even drafted to play baseball for the Atlanta Braves. But while some might have chosen the fast track to Major League Baseball, Archie's heart belonged to football. In the summer of 1967, Archie arrived at Ole Miss, ready to play under legendary coach Johnny Vaught. Back then, freshmen weren't allowed to compete due to NCAA rules, but by his sophomore year, Archie made history as the first sophomore to start as quarterback. That season, he led the Rebels to a solid 7-3-1 record. However, Archie's life took a heartbreaking turn before his junior year. That summer, he discovered that his father had taken his own life. The loss devastated him, and he considered quitting football to support his mother and sister. But Jane Manning refused to let him give up on his dreams. With her encouragement, Archie returned to Ole Miss and had his best season yet. In 1969, he threw for 1,762 yards and 9 touchdowns. That same year, he played one of the most legendary college football games ever against Alabama. Even though Ole Miss lost, Archie put up a record-breaking 540 total yards, 436 passing, and 104 rushing, a record that stood in the SEC for 43 years. In 1971, Archie's dream came true when the New Orleans Saints picked him second overall in the NFL draft. As a rookie, he started 10 of the 12 games he played. By his second season, he really shined, throwing for 2,781 yards and 18 touchdowns.
Back to his left. He flips one upstream. It is grabbed out of the air. The Saints have scored.
Even though the Saints struggled as a team, Archie led the entire league in pass attempts and completions in 1972. He played 10 seasons with the Saints before finishing his career with the Oilers and Vikings. After 13 years in the NFL, Archie retired with the worst winning percentage of any quarterback with 100 starts. Just 35 wins, 103 losses, and 3 ties. Even though Archie was a great quarterback, he just didn't have that much help. The Saints were a weak team, and no matter how hard he played, they just couldn't win enough games. Still, Archie's love for the game and his talent paved the way for something bigger: the rise of the next generation of Mannings in the NFL. See, football wasn't the only big part of Archie Manning's life. His family was just as important. He married his college sweetheart Olivia, and together they had 3 sons: Cooper, Peyton, and Eli. All 3 grew up loving football, just like their dad, and each one became a star in his own way. Cooper, the oldest Manning brother, was the only wide receiver in the family. He was an incredible athlete in high school, catching passes and making big plays. Many believed he was the most talented Manning at that age. He earned a scholarship to play at Ole Miss just like his dad, but just before his college career started, Cooper started feeling numbness in his arms and legs. Doctors discovered he had a serious condition called spinal stenosis, which made playing football too dangerous. Sadly, his football dreams ended before they could truly begin. While Cooper's football dreams ended early, Peyton Manning's career was just getting started. Known as the Sheriff, Peyton was one of the best young quarterbacks in the country. Just like his dad, he became a star in high school, playing for Isidore Newman High School in New Orleans. He wore the number 18 to honor his big brother Cooper. Peyton was unstoppable. He won the Gatorade National Player of the Year award and had over 60 college football offers. But when it was time to choose, he made a surprising decision. Instead of going to Ole Miss like his dad and brother, Peyton picked the University of Tennessee. Let's just say fans at Ole Miss were furious. They sent angry letters, called the Manning house, and couldn't believe he had chosen another school. But Peyton's choice turned out to be the right one. he became a star at Tennessee, taking over as the starting quarterback in just his 4th game as a freshman. From there, he never looked back. By the time he finished college, Peyton was Tennessee's all-time leading passer with over 11,000 yards and won 39 of 45 games as a starter. But his time at Tennessee wasn't without challenges. During his junior year, he was accused of inappropriate behavior by a trainer named Dr. Jamie Ann Naughtright, but he denied the allegations. The school later settled with Naughtright for $300,000 in 2002, and the issue was never pursued further. In 1997, Peyton's senior season, he played the best football of his college career, and that was really saying something. He threw for more yards and touchdowns than ever before, leading Tennessee to a nearly perfect 10-1 regular season record. In the SEC championship game against Auburn, things looked bad for the Vols when they fell behind 20-7, but Peyton wasn't ready to give up. He led an incredible comeback, throwing for over 370 yards and 4 touchdowns to win the game. He was named MVP and cemented his place as one of the best quarterbacks in college football history. With the shot at the national championship, Tennessee faced Nebraska in the Orange Bowl. They needed a win and a Michigan loss to claim the title, but Nebraska was just too strong. The Cornhuskers dominated, beating the Vols 42-17. Despite the loss, Peyton had an incredible college career, winning awards like the Maxwell, Davey O'Brien, Johnny Unitas, and ESPY for Best College Football Player. But when it came to the Heisman Trophy, he finished second to Charles Woodson. After college, Peyton was seen as one of the best quarterback prospects in years. In the '98 NFL Draft, the Colts picked him first overall.
University of Tennessee, Peyton Manning.
And he immediately became their starting quarterback. For 13 seasons, Peyton dominated the league, winning 4 MVP awards and leading the Colts to victory in Super Bowl 41, where he was named MVP after beating the Bears. But in 2010, Peyton suffered a serious neck injury that forced him to miss the entire 2011 season. This led to the Colts releasing him, but he wasn't done yet. He signed with the Broncos and quickly returned to his winning ways. In 2013, he won another MVP award, leading one of the most explosive offenses in NFL history. During the 2015-2016 season, Peyton led the Broncos to a victory in Super Bowl 50, securing his second championship and proving he was one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. After that win, he retired from football but stayed in the spotlight. In 2017, he hosted the ESPY Awards and later became the star of Peyton's Places, an ESPN documentary series where he interviews athletes, coaches, and celebrities. He also co-hosts Manning Cast with his younger brother Eli. Speaking of Eli Manning, the youngest of the Manning brothers, was born to play football. Just like his dad and big brother Peyton, he became a star at Isidore Newman High School. He broke school records for passing yards and touchdowns, proving he had the Manning magic. After high school, Eli made a choice that Peyton didn't. He decided to play for Ole Miss, the same school his dad and oldest brother Cooper attended. With Peyton's legendary college career, the pressure was on, but Eli didn't let it get to him. He made his own name at Ole Miss, winning big awards like the Maxwell and Johnny Unitas Golden Arm, just like Peyton before him. By the time Eli left college, he was one of the top quarterbacks in a draft class filled with talented players like Phillip Rivers and Ben Roethlisberger. But when draft day arrived, Eli and his dad Archie shocked everyone and created a huge controversy. As the NFL draft approached, rumors started flying. Eli Manning was expected to be the #1 overall pick by the San Diego Chargers. But there was a problem. Archie Manning had heard from former Chargers quarterback Ryan Leaf's father that San Diego wasn't the best place for a young quarterback to succeed. The team had a bad reputation for not supporting its players, and Archie didn't want Eli to go through that. So he made a bold move. He told the Chargers that if they drafted Eli, he simply wouldn't play for them. With the pressure on, the Chargers had to make a deal. They picked Eli first overall, but instead of keeping him, they worked out a trade with the Giants. In exchange for Eli, the Giants sent Phillip Rivers, another top quarterback prospect, along with several draft picks to San Diego. When the dust settled, Eli was exactly where he wanted to be, playing for the Giants in New York. Once he arrived in the Big Apple, Eli had to wait his turn. He started as the backup to veteran quarterback Kurt Warner, but when the Giants hit a rough patch in Week 10, Eli was given the starting job, and he never gave it back. In his first full season as the starter, he led the Giants to an NFC East title, and just 2 years later, he pulled off one of the greatest upsets in football history. leading the Giants to a stunning victory over the undefeated Patriots in Super Bowl 42. With the help of a dominant defense and a little magic, Eli proved he was built for the biggest moments. 4 years after shocking the world, Eli and the Giants did it again. In Super Bowl 46, they once more took down Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the mighty New England Patriots. Just like before, the Giants' defense was rock solid, and Eli delivered in the biggest moments. With another Super Bowl MVP award under his belt, he had cemented his place in football history. But after that second championship, things started to fall apart. The Giants struggled, missing the playoffs year after year. In Eli's final 8 seasons, they only made the postseason once, and fans grew frustrated. In 2019, the Giants drafted Daniel Jones to be the team's next quarterback. That year, Eli played his final game for New York as the team decided it was time to move on. After the season, he announced his retirement. While his 2 Super Bowl wins made him a legend, his overall record, 117 wins and 117 losses, left many debating just how great he really was. With Eli's retirement, the NFL was without a Manning for the first time in over 20 years. But football fans might not have to wait much longer for another one to take the field. Cooper Manning, the oldest brother, never got a shot in the NFL due to injury. But his son, Arch Manning, might just be the next great quarterback in the family. Archie attended the same school both of his uncles did, Isidore Newman, a prep school in New Orleans, and by the spring of his 8th grade year, Arch was already practicing with the varsity team. He wasn't just handed a spot on the field because of his famous last name. His coach, Nelson Stewart, made that clear from the start. As Arch started here in middle school, I think everyone's goal has been to just give him as normal a life as we can. But once he stepped onto the field, it was obvious, this kid belonged. Coach Stewart still remembers the first time Arch ran a play with the starting offense. The defense started in a cover 3 formation, with the safeties protecting the deep field. But just before the snap, Arch saw them shift to cover 1, meaning it was man-to-man coverage with just one safety left to help. Without hesitation, he changed the play at the line, dropped back, and launched a perfect 50-yard touchdown pass. It was a moment that stunned everyone. He wasn't just talented, he was reading defenses and making adjustments like a college player. That's why Stewart did something he had never done before. Unlike Peyton and Eli, Arch became the first freshman quarterback in over 40 years to start Newman's season opener. Up until then, the Mannings had done everything they could to keep Arch out of the spotlight, letting him have a normal childhood. But after that, there was no hiding. That season, Arch put on a show, throwing for nearly 2,500 yards and 34 touchdowns. He was named Max Prep's National Freshman of the Year, and suddenly, the entire football world wanted to know more about the next great Manning quarterback. After his incredible freshman season, Sports Illustrated featured Arch Manning in an article, something usually reserved for only the biggest names in sports. Suddenly, he wasn't just a rising star, he was the hottest name in high school football. And it wasn't just the media who couldn't get enough of him. College coaches across the country were dreaming of having Manning lead their team. Every top program wanted a shot at him. Nelson Stewart, who had coached NFL superstar Odell Beckham Jr. at Newman, was blown away by the attention Arch was getting. At just 6'2" and 180 pounds and still growing, Arch had the potential to become something truly special. The high school football world revolved around him. Newman's games were now being nationally televised, and everywhere he went, people wanted a piece of the young quarterback. Games became a full-blown spectacle. Fans packed the stands just to watch him play. People begged for pictures before and after games. Some even went to extreme lengths, like 2 grown men pretending to be photographers just to get close to him before getting kicked off the field. For most high school sophomores, all this attention would have been overwhelming, but Arch was different. He didn't waste time on social media, video games, or TV. His focus was simple: football, family, and friends. That mindset helped him dominate his sophomore season. He threw for nearly 2,000 yards and 21 touchdowns while rushing for 8 more scores. Despite being named to the Max Prep Sophomore All-American team, some people wondered if Arch Manning's high ranking was because of his famous last name or his actual talent. But recently, he's been proving to everyone why he deserves the hype. While Quinn Ewers is still the starting quarterback for Texas heading into the 2024 season, Arch is right behind him, and his name is getting harder to ignore. Earlier in 2024, he put on a show that had fans and the media buzzing. In Texas's spring game, Arch made a statement. His very first pass went for a 75-yard touchdown. He started the game completing 10 passes in a row and finished with 355 yards, 3 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. With performances like that against top-level competition, there's little doubt Arch Manning is the real deal. If he keeps this up, he's on track to become the 4th Manning drafted in the top 2 picks of the draft. We may have to wait a little longer to see him on an NFL field, but one thing is clear: if Arch lives up to the hype, the Manning family will forever be known as football royalty. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to check out the video on the screen. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.